G'day fans and welcome to another version of or another episode of Talking Stuff. Aaron has literally just gotten into his chair. He's got internet problems tonight. He is stressed to the absolute extreme. How you going, old son?
Yeah, no internet tonight. I'm running on thoughts and prayers. Just managed to get it up and going on the phone though. So hopefully, fingers crossed, everything goes okay.
Yeah, don't you worry about it. When it comes to getting things up and going, more up than going, Aaron is the lad. What can I say? I tell you what, we have got so much stuff to cover off. It's like we're practically bursting at the seams. It's a bit like Aaron's waistline, mate. Just can't contain it all, son. It's about to go thermonuclear. We've got that much to do. Mate, Mr. Aaron, what do you reckon, old son?
If my wasteland was fast food, it'd be a Whopper. We've got a lot on tonight.
Oh, an absolute, would that be a Whopper with extra pickles? That's what I want to know. Karana said, can't wait for this Saturday. There's two reasons for this Saturday, actually, which is a very, very cool, massive week. Very, very groovy. We've got so much to cover off. We're just going to kick it off because otherwise we'll never get through it all. And, of course, we want to do that because the last segment is the Toy Stories where we get to discuss some of Aaron's history. First things first, Mr. Aaron. How's this? The other day, right, I turn on the TV, right, and the very last bit that I see, I couldn't believe in the middle of the day, Transformers is on. Thunderbirds is on. Where did I get that from? Thunderbirds. Mate, Thunderbirds is on the tube in the afternoon. What's the deal with that?
Well, I think it's been on constantly because of the deal they have with, I think it's Channel 9, isn't it, that they have Thunderbirds forever because they bought the rights. So it doesn't surprise me it's turned up again, but it does surprise me it's on in the afternoon. But hey, it's something a whole new generation of kids can discover. It used to be 100 years in the future. Now it's 50 years in the future, isn't it?
Oh, God, how about that, eh? Yeah. I know, it is funny when you do come across movies and TV shows that are set so far in the future. I mean, I was just watching a little bit of Terminator Salvation today, and that's set, the future of that is 2018. And I go, well, that kind of doesn't really match what we really got. So there you go. Yes, good old FAB, which is a very, very cool. Sean's joined us, got an old Chunderbirds a go. Absolutely fantastic. So apparently it's on in the middle of the day for whatever reason on free-to-air TV, which I've got to say is particularly groovy. And rather trippy at the same time, considering the show's like over 50 years old now, which is kind of cool. Thunderbirds is better than Transformers. That's, I don't know, depending on what you like, depending on which version of Transformers as well, which is very, very cool. What do you reckon there, Mr. Aaron?
I think, Thunderbirds transform. That could be the next generation of Thunderbirds, couldn't it?
Yeah, you're not wrong. Absolutely fantastic. Funnily enough, Russell hasn't joined us yet, which is kind of a bit sad because I'm about to talk about him in a moment. For those who don't know, a couple of weeks ago, I was talking about this damn Quatermass video that I was making. It's finally been released. It's on YouTube. You can check it out if you're interested in knowing about the history of the Quatermass franchise, British sci-fi from the 1950s. The reason why I brought this up, not to promote myself, but I just wanted to say a special thank you to Rusky Babes, Mr. Russell Devlin, for all his assistance in getting this thing put together. And funnily enough, Russell, of course, has his own YouTube channel. And believe it or not, if you look up there, he has 4 subscribers away from 1,000 subscribers. Can you believe it? After all these years, 4. He's only missing 4 dudes. So I was going to put the big plug out there, say, if anybody wants to be the last 4 people to subscribe to the poor bastard's channel to get over 1,000, that would be very groovy. What do you reckon about that, Mr. Aaron?
I'm just unsubscribing now.
In fact, I checked it before we went on air, just in case it had a last-minute spurt, so to speak, because I know you're you're a bit of a fan of last-minute spurts, and it wasn't to be. So he's still sitting at 996 rather. So, and he's not even here to sort of see what's going on. But I did tell him I was going to be promoting his channel. To be fair, Russell is one of those guys who does actually create his own video content. He does his own fan films. He does his own productions, and I've got to applaud him for them. So, yeah, all power to him, and hopefully he makes past that magical number very, very soon. So,
But the Quatermass documentary you've put together isn't a unaccomplished achievement in itself. I watched it and it was very impressive. And I think people don't realize how hard it is to do something like that and how much time. And also, it's called the Quatermass phenomenon. It should have been called the Quatermass copyright strike, because didn't you have a bit of trouble with the clips?
Yeah, I did actually. So the thing I wanted it to be visible for people who've never seen Quatermass before, and I was trying to put in clips of the shows, the movies, and the TV series, so people got an idea as to what it is what we're talking about. And I got copyright strikes and blockages, and oh my god, I was just getting bamboozled with it all. So I just took the whole lot out, and I just left it as it is now, which is a bit unfortunate. But what do you do?
So knowing that, when you watch it, it just shows you what a great editor Dags is, because it does flow really amazingly well and has a ton of information in there. I thought it was great. I gave it a thumbs up.
Thank you very much for that. And it has done actually quite well. It's up to 20,000 views after being released on Tuesday. So a few people out there are clearly watching, which is very, very groovy. Russell has joined us. I wish it was Quatermaster Smart Guy Low, dig up all down the ground with the master ships inside. That is very, very cool. It doesn't rhyme at all. Okay, now one of the things we are going to be covering off is a bit of Star Wars going on around the place. I mean, people might be sick to death of Star Wars, but you can't knock it because it just keeps popping up all over the place in various guises. And one of the things that I saw today, Mr. Aaron, is a TV commercial that is coming out. I don't think it's for Australia. I think it's only for America, for the Columbia Sportswear group, where they get the racing car driver, whose name has just gone completely blank out of my mind, and he's doing a bit of a promo thing with the Star Wars franchise. Now, have you seen this at all?
I saw it came up online. I did think of you because it had the Vader number plates, and people might not know that Dags actually tracks and records nerdy number plates that he sees around the place.
Yeah, except I only just do it for Australian ones. If I do it for American ones, I'll have 50 million variants and all the rest. Bubba Wallace, that's right. That's the name of the racing car driver. And it was very cool. It's all official. It has the Imperial March music and a bit of Darth Vader breathing and all that. And of course, Hayden Christensen's in it as well. So clearly Columbia are investing a fair whack of dollars into this and obviously painting the car up and everything. I read today Doug Chang, who was the art designer for the prequel movies, at least for Phantom Menace, he was actually involved in the design of the car and the costume, the racing suit and all the rest of it. So what do you reckon about that, dude?
It's pretty good. It shows you Star Wars still sells. And I tell you, the last big one, I think in Australia, probably going back a bit, was Adidas, where they did a range of Star Wars Adidas stuff. And of course, Adidas is expensive to sort of invest in as a collectible. And why did I want shoes and bomber shirts and stuff like that? Of course, all of that stuff is worth 10 times what it originally came out at. It's actually really hard to find. So it tends to, if it's something that rocks your boat, buy it and put it away, because they tend to be a good tie-in. Everyone gets action figures and keeps them, so they're all easy to find. Try and find a pair of Adidas from 20 years ago that haven't been used.
That's a very good point, actually, because I do remember when you get in the Star Wars and the Adidas stripes, and you go, that's a bit of an unusual combination, but it was actually very successful. And you are right, you don't see much of it around at all. Kelvin has said, no sequel trilogy, not yet. Give it another 20 years. You never know. It might all be popping up. Could be Rays and Poes and Fins all over the place. So watch this space. Now, because it was a bit shorter news to start with, and all of a sudden this popped up, this is very, very short and pretty boring. But there's a thing, Lucy Hale, the actress, is the star in as an Antarctica scientist battling an evil entity in White Mars, right? And of course, I looked at that and I thought, mate, they're just doing the thing. It's like, how unoriginal is that? How unoriginal is that?
Yeah. This time it's on Mars, so I think that's the original thing. But I did think it was funny that it's scientists on White Mars, which looks like the Arctic, battling an alien entity.
Well, when I first read White Mars, I thought, is this to do with the books of Kim Stanley Robinson's Red Mars, Blue Mars, whatever, right? That's what I first thought. I thought, they're actually adapting those books to the cinema. But I looked it up, said, no, because it's like Antarctica is pretty barren, and it's like Mars and whatever. It's got nothing to do with Mars at all. And I thought, okay, so that sounds very, very groovy. So, but it's just the thing all over again.
I thought they were just doing a new version of Mars bars out of white chocolate.
I like this one from Russell. The white thing sounds too rude. Yes. What are you going to go and go check out that white?
That's great. It's rude and racist.
Oh yeah, absolutely fantastic. Can't get me enough of the jokes. Can't get me enough of the all white thing. So, dear. Imagine going out with your significant other and you say, "What would you like to do?" It's like, I wouldn't mind checking out the all white thing. What was,
you know what I mean? What was the tagline for the thing? The warmest place is the human body.
No, man is the warmest place to hide. So, yes.
Okay. The man is the warmest place to hide. The white thing.
The white thing. Yeah, exactly right. Anyway, so White Mars, obviously they're due to start filming, so it'll be out in a couple of years' time, and we'll see what happens. Look at the size of that white thing. Yes, exactly right. The jokes practically write themselves. Stick it with Star Wars. Sorry, fans, we've got to get through it. The other thing that came out this week, of course, was the trailer for Skeleton Crew. Now, I've got my thoughts on this. What do you reckon, old son?
Well, it's obviously aimed at a totally different audience. And I think a lot of people have said that, it's got the Goonies vibe. And I think what actually happened, someone probably said, how about we set a Star Wars movie on current day Earth where the kids find a spaceship and then get transported to the Star Wars universe, kind of like Flight of the Navigator or some of those other things. And then someone pointed out Star Wars was a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. So it looks like they've almost done that on another planet, because the technology on the planet they're on looks a lot, I guess, closer to modern day than the Star Wars universe. What did you think?
Yeah, that's what I thought too. When at the very, very start of it, I thought it looks very contemporary. And when you see the bit where you got all the traffic driving, and they're on cars. They're driving in cars. So it took me a while to work out what it was all about. And you are right. I think they do find a spaceship and then fly off into the Star Wars galaxy. And I thought, you know what? It kind of worked. And they put the jazzed up music in and the fast editing and all the rest of it. I thought, I don't know how well it's going to go, but I applaud them for doing it. It looks different. It could be a bit of shits and giggles, so long as they don't bust up continuity along the way. It might actually work. And I'm more intrigued to see what the Earth section looks like, because it would be funny if it's this Earth, 100 years from now, as opposed to somewhere out in the other universe. Because if it is this Earth, then that's like unusual, because in the Star Wars universe, Earth really doesn't factor in at all. So, Karan says, look at this. It looks like another flop. Oh, that's a bit harsh. Jeez. I do like the fact they put an alien in there. Now, typically in kids programs of the past, it was always, dare I say it, the white kids and the token black kid, right? Simple as that. Now they've said, oh, no, we've got white kids, a black kid, and we've got the token alien. So that alone is going to push the budget up, because they've got to CG the alien's head. So there you go.
Well, one of the kids is a blue elephant.
Yeah, well, that's exactly right. It could be a mini Max. What can I say?
It's Disney. They should have had pink elephants, shouldn't they? It should have been a Dumbo sequel.
Oh, well, there you go. The Dumbos will be the people watching it. Look, it looked interesting. As to whether it's going to have any depth or excitement, who knows? But
do you remember? You'd of course remember Aliens versus Predator. What about this? Blue elephants versus the white thing.
So that kind of works for me. So just let them all go wackety whack with each other, which is very cool. Anyway, Skeleton Crew's due out soon. Not entirely sure when, when the kid elephant grows up, he wants to be in a band. Yes, exactly right. So, because Max Rebo is still alive, as far as we're concerned, in the Star Wars universe, he's not dead yet, as they say. So, very cool. So Skeleton Crew, you kind of keen, kind of not. What do you reckon?
I'll watch it at Star Wars. I think it'll be better than The Acolyte, because it's not obviously trying to attract, guys who are into Star Wars. It's more aimed at kids. I like watching kids' movies. If it's a good family show, it could be good. It could be just what Star Wars needs, a palate cleanser before they go back to, The Mandalorian or something. Or Andor, isn't it? Yeah.
Oh, yeah, very, very cool. It looks like Christy's got the same problem you've got. Update, Christy's a call. She says her apologies. No internet this evening. So there you go. Technology's breaking down. So, yes, very, very cool. I saw this today. I only just saw this like an hour ago. This is just like one of those gags that pops up, and it just made me laugh. I couldn't help myself. It was about, you put in a password, Palpatine, because if you remember this scene in the movie, I'm too weak. I just had a laugh at that. So you're laughing too. It's actually very, very clever. Yes.
Yeah, it's funnier than most of your jokes.
It's not my joke. I didn't make it, but I got to admit that goes to show how pathetic we are. When I look at that and I go, that actually made me laugh. I had a bit of a chuckle at that. So, if you know the movie, you'll get the gag. I'm too weak. So yes, very, very cool. Loving it. All right, now we're moving on. Oh my God, we're rocketing through this. I tell you what. Now there's a lot of stuff going on this Saturday. Now that I'm not working this Saturday, but kind of working this Saturday, Sunny Saturdays are back, right? Now, of course, there's something else going on at the same time, but we're going to discuss that in a moment. Sunny Saturdays, Karan's watching us at the moment, where it's all about the coffee, the collectibles, and the cholesterol, outside of Aaron's store at 11:30 in the morning. Mate, it's going to be absolutely going off fantastically, because guess what, Mr. Aaron? We're going to talk about a bit about the Docky Who. And the reason why we're talking about the Docky Who is because you've got some dudes turning up. How exciting is this?
Oh, I know. Collect them all. We've had a Jamie, now we've got a Doctor and a Tegan. And when I say collect them all, it's because I have made collectible postcards that if you come along, you get to grab one of each. But I cannot stress how rare this is. The last time I remember a doctor doing a free signing, it was the ABC shop, Peter Davison, for the 50th anniversary. So that's 11 years ago. Before that, I think it was Peter Davison in 1982. And before that, it was Tom Baker in 78 or 79 at the Myer stores. So if you want to meet a genuine Rigididge Doctor Who doing a shop signing, I mean, you can go to Supernova and Armageddon and cons like that and pay a fortune. This is a good way to do it. Like no payments to see them, just a purchase in the shop for an autograph or two for two autographs. It's quite a good event. And the last one, I think everyone went away happy as well. And that's what I'm doing them for, more for the fan community and for people to have a good time. More of these old style events that aren't like, I guess, the pro cons these days.
And that's exactly right. And the good thing is, before that even kicks off, as I mentioned, you got sunny Saturdays outside. So you turn up at 11:30, park your furry one for a couple of hours, get yourself a ticket, get yourself lined up, and it should be absolutely spectacular. But no, I agree with you. So the best advice we have got for people, it was probably going to be a bit of pandemonium. Get there early. Get yourself, if you need to, get in the store, buy some stuff ahead of time, get your tickets. Get yourself ready to be queued up because it is going to be kind of nuts, but it should be very, very cool. Hey, you actually looking forward to it? I know there's a bit of pressure on your shoulders, but what do you reckon?
I'm looking forward to it in that I hope it goes well, because it's one of those things where you plan it, you do as best as you can, but if anything goes wrong that's beyond your control, it all comes back on you. Last one went amazingly well and was quite good. I'm just hoping it's as good as the last one. I have a question about Sunny Sunday's chat and choose. What happens in a couple of months when it's 42 degrees and you don't get cholesterol, you get skin cancer?
Well, that's exactly right. So we'll have to change some of the letters. We might get the chat and choose, but it might be more chats and melts or something like that. But we'll cross those bridges as the time comes. Good old Sean's asked, what's the cheapest item in the store to buy? Night out with Aaron would actually be the answer to that question.
Actually,
So
close. Close. I was going to say my dignity, but there you go.
I'm glad you didn't say your white thing. So very, very cool. Yes, it is very, very groovy. It should be an absolute barnstorming day. Docky Who Central going to be absolutely Burko. So get yourselves there.
And it's going to be just according to the weather, a lovely 21 degrees, which I think is not too cold and not too hot. So this is a good one to come to.
Yeah, exactly right. I like this one from Russell. Yeah, when it gets to 42 degrees, you get the Hitches guest in. Yeah, exactly right. Sticking with the Docky Who, right? This is very, very cool. I just read about this the other day. I don't expect you to do all the talking. Apparently, Torchwood Road, which I didn't even know even existed, is due to come out this month. Mr. Aaron, has it already happened, or are you just like excited as over this?
You've been sucked into a fan poster, Dags.
Oh, is it? Is this fake? Is this fake? Is it?
Yes, so this is we're promoting fake news, like a Donald Trump election campaign, but this is one of those. It's well done. It's got the Disney logo on. I saw it come up and I looked at it and I thought, really? And then I read a little bit and no, it's just a fake one put together. Maybe we should do that. Maybe each week we should find the best fake poster we can and highlight it just to see how many people we can suck in.
Well, that's a good point. So that's why I thought I haven't even heard of this, but it's due out this month. Who would spend that bother even posting? I mean, obviously, it caught me out, but I'm allowed to be caught out because I'm an idiot. So,
I mean,
yeah.
who would put hours and hours into pictures for their TikTok page to get no views? I mean, who would do that?
Oh, that reminds me too. So, fans, if you're not aware, Aaron actually has a TikTok page now. Is it actually under Aaron's Collectibles?
No, it's under Toyhood Journeys. I guess I can put the link up later. But that was because I wanted to be anonymous for a while so I could build up some content before I launched it. But we're all friends here, so if you want to look it up, you can find it. The good thing about the TikTok page is I take a lot of photos of stuff that comes into the shop and never really do anything with them. Now I can jam them all together and put them on TikTok. So if anyone wants to see stuff that's coming into the shop, you get a sort of a preview by looking at them there.
How about that? You've got your own TikTok thing, and it's not even Aaron's Collectibles TikTok. It's some other, what'd you call it? Toyhood Journeys. Is that what you called it?
Toyhood Journeys, yes.
God, Cheapers creepers, mate. More talk than tick at this rate. So there you go. Anyway,
Yeah.
so
And
apparently he's TikTok. What?
I'd just like to tell anyone who goes to TikTok for the sexy girls in underwear and stuff, I definitely have all my clothes on in everything I appear in.
See, that alone is going to stop me from signing up. We're going to say, so there you go, fans. I mean, the poor bastard is desperate to try and get 1,000 views on one of his ticky-tocky bloody videos. Don't go looking for Aaron's Collectibles because he's not there. Toy Hoard Journeys. Oh, my goodness. What a wanky title I've never heard before. So go and check it out. Actually, his videos are pretty good, I've got to say.
Which is absolutely fantastic because a couple of weeks ago when I launched it, I sent all the stuff to you and go, what do you think of this? And you said, it's all fantastic. Go for it.
Mate, I mean, completely nuts and absolutely burko. No, they are actually very, very cool if you can damn well find them because they're not under the name that I thought they were. Finally, with a last-minute picture, this is actually going to be very, very clever. Once again, I did have a bit of a laugh at this. It's just one of those little nerdy things that pops up. It was the Ming vase, right? And it's obvious, Ming vase has obviously come from ancient China. And, of course, it's a Ming the Merciless vase. And I got to say, I reckon that's actually very, very cool. And the reason why that is cool, Mr. Aaron, is because it leads us into our big discussion about famous leaders and presidents and emperors and that from sci-fi movies and TV shows. The timing is impeccable. What can I say? Because crazy shit's been going on in America. So how good is that?
So I thought we could all sit back and everyone could forget about election news. And what do? We bring up even bigger dictators from all corners of the galaxy, universe, time and space. Ming is one of the best ones, though.
Yeah, true. I mean, so if anybody thinks that we're hanging shit on what happened with the US elections, actually we're not, because I come up with this idea before the elections actually occurred. So, and it's not all bad guys, as it was a whole bunch of we're just mucking around, so nothing too serious. But I thought the timing is absolutely fantastic, and I agree with you. Ming the Merciless in Flash Gordon was absolutely fantastic. What do you reckon, son?
Hail Ming. Yeah, he absolutely was. And it was one of those things where sometimes if you go over the top and chew up the scenery, it can ruin a movie. But the tone of Flash Gordon was perfect for the way that Max von Sydow's pitched Ming the Merciless. He was a fantastic villain. And one of the biggest crimes in cinema history is it ends on a cliffhanger with them picking up the ring and a question mark, and it never goes anywhere.
Yeah, I tell you what, is one of the other biggest crimes in cinema history. It's this.
Doctor Who! Hey! The TARDIS! Doctor Who! Hey! The TARDIS!
Yeah, because we got a bit of docu. Got a bit of docu. I don't even know who this guy even is. You brought this one up.
Well, if we're looking at presidents, I did say, well, let's look at President Barusa. He was one of the Time Lords through the history of Doctor Who, never played by the same actor twice. Through the 70s and 80s, he started off as a good and benevolent president who helped the Doctor, but by the 5 Doctors, he wanted to be president eternal and rule forever and had gone bad. So there you go. Russell gets points for picking up it was President Barusa.
Mate, that is so exciting. And what can I say? And when I looked at this, I thought, why is James Bond, or Prince Baron in this case, dressed in a Doctor Who costume, dude?
Oh, I know. It's an embarrassment for him, isn't it, in your eyes? That is Rassilon. He was, I guess, one of the supreme Time Lords who helped invent time travel, but ruled and again is one of the Time Lords that through the history of the show has been good and bad, but eventually we found out he was in control of the Time War against the Daleks. They pulled in Timothy Dalton to be him. And of course, he's probably responsible for more deaths through time and space than anyone but the Daleks, I guess.
I'm just yawning just hearing all that. What can I say? Mark has said we need to do a release 12-inch remix of that song about that. I'll put it on loop if you want, because I tell you what, it's definitely worth it. And so and even I chucked this Doctor Who one in. I know he wasn't strictly a leader, but he was a leader of the scientists. Good old Davros, the original Davros, Genesis of the Daleks. See, I know my shit. He was a cool dude.
He was indeed, and he definitely had Trumpian ranting speeches as well. So there you go.
Oh, is that all you got to say? Oh, okay. I'll put
I thought you wanted to skip over the Doctor Who stuff. You said it was all boring.
When you talk about other characters I know nothing about, but Davros, from Genesis of the Daleks, because he's on Scar Road, all that sort of stuff. Oh, that excites me, dude.
What do you think is more exciting about politics? Time Lords and Time Wars and Daleks, or Trade Federation blockades and Chancellor Valorum? You might as well call him Chancellor.
Oh,
What, you
I
didn't
forgot
do
all that,
Valorum?
no, I completely forgot all about him actually.
Chancellor Valium, because he puts everyone to sleep.
Damn, yeah, actually, I completely forgot all about him. So there you go. Anyway, we're moving on from Docky Who. We're done with that. Good old President Screw. Is it Scroob? Is that how you pronounce it?
Scroob, yes.
Yeah, some Spaceballs.
For ages, I thought it was President Screw, but it's actually President Scroob. I guess it comes from Screwball or something like that. Do you know what? He has weak passwords too, doesn't he? His luggage password is 12345. President Scroob is one of the evilest Spaceballs there was. He tried to take all the air from the planet Druidia. I mean,
He did.
that's pretty
Yes.
bad.
Yes, he said his thing to suck, and then he had to change it to blow. Good old Where's Serverland? Funnily enough, right here. So there we go, dude. We think we cover all bases tonight. Good old Blake Seven and Serverland. I never watched it, but I do know that she was right up there in terms of in being in charge of the Federation as being a bit of a nasty pasty.
The Federation was so bad, they pumped stuff into the air to keep all the population docile and obedient to them. Servalan is a fantastic villain. She's one of those villains who you love to hate. Always manages to get herself out of a sticky situation. Always is doing the most evil stuff. Teamed up with Travis sometimes. But usually any episode of Blake Seven, which she is instantly elevated because she is one evil bitch.
Shane said Chancellor Zod. When was he ever a Chancellor? I don't think he was a Chancellor, was he? Nah.
In the movies, no, but the backstory was he was like one of the, went up against the ruling parties of Krypton.
Yes, I knew that much. Kelvin has said the Big Brother from 1984. Big Brother is primarily an image rather than an actual person. Because you never actually physically see who Big Brother is, so it's just the iconography of all that. But having said that, though, I mean, clearly the ruling class of 1984. What are they called? You have the three countries. Just gone blank what it is. But anyway, not important. Yeah, exactly right. It was General Zod, not Chancellor Zod. Speaking of presidents and emperors and whatever else, of course, I've picked the original emperor from good old Dunny from 1984, Shaddam the Fourth. Cool. I mean, like I looked at like the Christopher Walken version from the latest movie, and I go, mate, you're nothing compared to the Yosei Ferrier's version. All the glitz and the glamour and the golden line thrown and all the rest of it. So this dude had his finger on the pulse, but he kind of cocked it up because he didn't know who Paul Atreides was. What do you reckon, dude?
I think it's pronounced Jose Ferraro Rocher, actually. But but I did think who was a better emperor, Palpatine or this guy? You're definitely right. The Christopher Walken one was a bit of a letdown considering they got Christopher Walken. But I do love the original Dune. The new one is accomplished. The old one is something that I grew up with. And the Emperor who had all the machinations behind the scenes. The books are great because the Emperor is really the one playing off all the different houses against each other. So he is really... You do know a lot of Star Wars, they kind of said, oh, that was kind of stolen from Dune. I do think he was the archetypal emperor who they kind of probably took some of Palpatine's machinations from. The machinations, weren't they a great group?
You're an idiot. It's the plans within plans. Okay, so Oceania, East Asia, Eurasia. Thank you. Now, I think Eurasia is where a 1984 is set. Can someone confirm that? Because Kelvin said Oceania. Yeah. I don't think it is. So I think.
And Sunraysia is where the sultanas come from.
You're a friggin' idiot. I knew you were going to say something stupid like that. Unbelievable. Very, very cool. You know what? You drive me so nuts. The only thing I can do is just put this
Doctor Who! Hey! The TARDIS! Doctor Who! Hey! The TARDIS!
Doctor Who.
I like it because it proves you're a Doctor Who fan at heart.
I am definitely not that. You talk about the Emperor. Of course, I've got to chuck in the old Emperor. Good old Palpatine. Now, a lot of people are going to say, where's Darth Vader? Darth Vader didn't rule anything. The Emperor was always the power behind just about every throne, and he was the coolest of cool dudes. In fact, you could almost argue the entire 9 movies is all about history of Palpatine, not even worrying
Yeah.
about Luke Skywalker or anybody else, because this guy features in all of them effectively. So very, very groovy. What do you reckon?
I love the Emperor. What I love about the Emperor, it reminds me a lot of Sauron from Lord of the Rings, where he's so powerful and so in the background. The first two movies, he's not even in them. They talk about it. I mean, there's the hologram, I guess, in Empire Strikes Back. But he is so powerful and such an ominous force in the background. They don't even have to have him in the movies, and everyone is still like, oh, this Emperor's one scary dude. The one thing I didn't like about the Emperor was his choice of friends. If I was the Emperor, like, I wouldn't have those stupid imperial dignitaries in those purple robes, these boring old guys as my advisors. I mean, what's the deal with that? You know, if we've learned anything from politicians, you marry a was it is she from where's Borat from? Supermodel. You know, you'd be with Darth Talon. You wouldn't be with like the imperial dignitaries, would you?
Yeah, I got to admit that was a funny scene, right? He tells Vader to bugger off, and he's like, "Who are these two dudes? What are they?" It's like, what are they there for? What's their purpose? You know, so
they're basically dressed in comedy robes and over the top hats. I mean, does the Emperor have friends? Does the Sith Lord have? What do they? Do they have tea and play bridge together? What goes on in that Imperial group?
Well, I do know as part of the Sith, their Christmas parties, they only have 2 attendees. I do agree with you, Kelvin. Yeah, the rise of Palpatine, totally agree with you. Sean said East Asia, and I said Europe. Oh, I don't know. I'm losing track now. So it is all very, very cool. What can I say? But on the other side, just to show that I'm not just sticking with the baddies, on the flip side, of course, with the good guys, you had Mon Mothma as well from the goodies. And of course, the thing about, did you know, now, I'm so nerdy, I know the names of both these actresses. How good are you, dude?
Nah, no, I don't on those ones.
So on the left, you got Genevieve O'Reilly, and on the right, you got Caroline Blackiston. And I did not have to look that up. I already knew it. And of course, Mon Mothma from the original, like from Return of the Jedi. And of course, Genevieve O'Reilly was originally in Revenge of the Sith, but all of her parts got completely deleted, but they brought her back for Rogue One. And of course, she's been appearing in Andor. But she's always been the leader of the Rebel Alliance and the New Republic as it comes along. Yeah.
I'll tell you what, hasn't she gone from being someone in Return of the Jedi who just seemed a bit boring to, again, the manipulation and the machinations and marrying off her children to different people just to aid the Empire and, who she aligns with and everything. She has definitely been a character that has gone up in my esteems because of Andor, one of my favorite characters, isn't it? Every time they flash to her and you see what she's doing, avoiding Imperial sort of entanglements and then doing stuff to fight for the rebellion. Great character. Can't wait for Andor Series 2.
Now, this is a show, even as a non-Docky Who nerd, right? I know the best Doctor Who evil overlord was John Nathan Turner. How good am I, dude? And the reason I know that is because of that friggin' Docky Who video that we made with Rusky Babes. Because Jeffro and I go, "Who's John Nathan Turner, man? Nobody." Oh God! See, I've been corrupted. What can I say? Very, very cool. Just rocking along, just randomly, just chucking people in. Now, of course, Diana wasn't the leader of the visitors. John was actually the leader of the small fleet, but of course, the leader was the leader of the visitors, but we never really saw the leader. So we're just focusing on Diana here. She was an awesome bad lady. Finally took control of the fleet, and after she knocked John off. But in V, she was absolutely spectacular.
Well, as we know, Charles and Diana eventually got together, and Charles ended up outliving Diana. Actually, no, that's not true. She came back in the new series.
Died. Yeah, no. In the series, he got assassinated. So they got married, Charles and Diana. I mean, how pathetic is that? But then he gets assassinated, and that's the end of that. So
I was getting confused with real life for a second.
Yeah. You don't want to do that. Just a couple of, we could spend ages doing this, right? But just quickly, a couple of bad guys. I just want to play through these ones very quickly. Good old Skeletor from Master of the Universe, just to show that I'm not just sticking with the movies. What do you reckon, dude?
Yes.
He's a megalomaniac at his best.
King Randor's brother, Keldor, who became Skeletor. One of the great things, like a lot of people didn't like them, a lot of people did. One of the great things about the Kevin Smith cartoon animations, they've really fleshed out the backstory of a lot of the characters from He-Man. He is a great Like a great villain. He's got a skull for a head. He's green and he's evil. Has a really good evil
Mate.
laugh too.
Mate, can't knock that. I'm just running. I've got
Yeah.
a whole bunch of pictures. I'm just chucking in a couple of random ones. I love the president from Star Trek 6, the president of the Federation. Kurtwood Smith,
Yeah.
didn't even recognize him. Good old Clarence Boddicker. He was awesome.
Yeah.
He didn't do much, but I thought he just looked and sounded grouse.
What race is he meant to be?
I don't know, man. No idea. But he's not human, I don't
Okay.
think.
I wasn't sure. He isn't as aliened up as a lot of Star Trek people, but then he isn't human either, is he? So I wasn't sure if you knew.
No.
You've missed
some
one
random.
I really wanted to. You've missed one I
Who?
really wanted to talk about. Have you
Who?
got the Imperious leader from Galactica?
No, I didn't actually, but I do have the closest thing to it. It's actually the Imperious leader, effectively from Battle of the Planets.
Spectre does not have a chameleon as a pet living on his shoulder, does he? He isn't voiced by an original Avenger, is he? No, come on, that is nowhere near the Imperious leader. Imperious leader will chop your head off with swords in front of you and then resurrect you when the series gets
That's exactly right. They get glued back on again when they go, no, we're being picked up for a TV series.
That's how powerful the Imperious leader is. None of the other ones chop someone's head off and then it's back on for the series.
Mate, that's actually fantastic. We're going to wrap this up. I've got one more. Actually, lots more to show, but I'm just going to finish it off just to show that we're not just focusing on the main ones. I was going to say the Grey Council from Babylon 5. They all rounded all the 9 dudes, the 3 classes. Yeah, very, very cool, very groovy, and they controlled absolutely everything. But they weren't as cool as this dude who had heads in jars in his special chambers. Good old Kataja. He was indeed a bit of a wacky tobacco, but there you go, dude. What do you reckon?
Great. Have we got any of the Lord of the Rings ones, or is that too fantasy for us?
It's fantasy, dude.
Oh,
No.
no.
Freaking fantasy. Bloody hell. So, no. This is a
the
science
F
fiction
word,
show,
sorry.
dude. Huh? What?
The F word. Sorry, fantasy.
Yeah, no swearing on this show. What can I say? Absolutely fantastic. All right, that's that. We're going
The
to move
other
on,
thing
right?
you
We
might-
did it. What?
The other thing you won't see on this show is the C word, culture.
Exactly right. Very, very good. All right, we're going to plow through this because we're going to get through. We're way behind as always. But the good thing is this bit that's coming up is actually a reasonably easy one. We're going to find the right button. Okay, let's get rid of it. Okay, done with the elections and all the rest of it, all the leaders and presidents. Let's get into something exciting. It's time for this.
A question.
This one actually came up from, once again, has been submitted now. Rusky Babe sent through one today, which I thought was really good, but I got sent this one a couple of days earlier. And I thought this is actually a bit of an interesting one to bring up. So here we go, dude. Have you ever been starstruck when meeting a celebrity and getting their autograph? It's a very simple one. Nice and simple.
Well, it is a simple one. I'd like to say no. And the weirdest thing, I only have been once. And that was, I've seen doctors and droids and companions and stuff from all different shows. Absolutely no problem. Gone up, got autographs, had a chat with them, moved on. All fine. Except for Louise Jameson, who was Leela from Doctor Who. She was here maybe 10 years ago, went up to get her autograph, and I just blanked. And she had to say, it's okay. You can talk to me. And I was just like, this is an experience I've never had before, where I've actually been starstruck by, a actor. So yes, I have been. Have you?
Yeah, so the reason the picture I've got, funnily enough, David Prowse from 1986. Obviously, that's me there. Because what happened is when Guy sent through the question, he said, have you actually effectively said that? And I thought, well, yeah, I did. That was back in 86 when I met David Prowse because I was a big Darth Vader fan. And, I got to went to his talk on the Monday and it was all very, very groovy. After that, I thought, well, I'm kind of done. I don't really sort of care about anybody else now. And I thought about it before this came up and I thought, well, if there was a person I'd like to meet, I'd love to meet Ian McDiarmid, the guy who played the Emperor from Star Wars. But you've got to admit, if I could properly meet George Lucas, now there's meeting and there's meeting. I don't want to just shake hands and say g'day. You want to be able to have a sit-down and conversation with these people because, I was thinking about it today, especially him. There were others, but especially him. His entire life story is so large and complex, done so many things, been to so many places. There could be just little random stories that just crop up from the guy's life experiences. And I've got to admit, he's one person, if he spoke, I'd just be completely riveted. But for the most part, no. I just the celebrity thing doesn't really work for me. I like to see people, but the days of having like getting the fanboy moment, it's kind of just not there anymore. So
Well,
yeah.
for me, probably the most famous person I've ever met from Doctor Who is Tom Baker. If I thought I was going to
Mm.
get starstruck by anyone, it would be him. But that was absolutely fine. Had a lovely, mad conversation and got an autograph and a photo and everything, and that was great. So it really did take me by surprise. But I guess it just does show that you never know how you're going to react to, someone who you've watched on television or in movies. Because I didn't think that would happen, and yet it did.
So yeah, it's funny. I was watching one of our previous episodes before we went on air, and one of the things that we asked about was whether if you meet someone in their prime, like they finished filming last week, and then you're seeing them in front of you, versus seeing them 20 years after the fact. And I think I do wonder if you saw them as they appeared off screen. Now, a good example of that was Richard Hatch. So when Richard Hatch
Yeah.
came out to Australia after he did the new Battlestar Galactica, he didn't look like the Apollo from the 70s, but he did look like Tom Zarek of the 2000s.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh, dude, that is absolutely spectacular. So, and Claudia Christiansen from Babylon 5 is another one. So I do wonder if people are more likely to completely go nuts when they see them as they are in the series today. David Boreanaz was another one as well. So,
well, the other thing,
yeah.
Mark says, oh, it's because you were thinking about her in all her leather outfits and stuff. But it's one of those things where I have met, I met her. She is an older lady now. She's in her 60s. So it wasn't like I was overcome by her beauty. But I have met actresses in their prime because they come over for Supernova and stuff. And you get like the cheerleader from Heroes, or you get Summer Glau from Terminator, or Cordelia from Buffy, or stuff like that. No problem with them at all. That was absolutely fine. So I don't know. I don't know what happened there. Maybe my brain glitched. I don't know.
So if you wound the clock back, not you personally, but for other people, when they met the Star Trek actors in the 70s, like when the conventions first started out, and these effectively people who were nobodies prior to Star Trek, they get into Star Trek and afterwards they become instant megastars. And I don't know if people back then in the 70s, because obviously there's no internet and whatever else, whether they had absolutely blow their mind moments when they said, oh my God, it's William Shatner and Leonard Nimoy and,
Yeah.
Bush Takei and whatever else. It's probably likely that those guys completely went Burko, not realizing that these people would be doing the convention circuit for decades. So
I think with
yeah.
meeting actors, we're really lucky now. I mean, my meeting actors has been, I guess it's been the last 20 years now, because of the pro cons and things. I never ever thought I would meet as many people in Australia as I have. They had conventions in America and in England, but I guess the Supernovas and Armageddons and Oz Comic Cons opened stuff up here more. So I think we're quite lucky with the access we had compared to when I was growing up, where maybe once every 5 years you might find someone.
You mentioned Hayden Pinteri. That she was a good example. It's like she'd finished Heroes like a week before, effectively,
Yeah.
and she looked exactly as she did on screen. So, yeah, she was definitely a good example of that. What was the last thing you just said? Sorry, I just had a complete. I was focusing on
Just
something else.
the access we have now
Oh,
with
yeah. So back in our day, I mean, you were lucky to get maybe 4 or 5 actors a year in Australia, not just Melbourne, but in Australia. Now, of course, they're like their production line and they're everywhere. So it's almost like, well, I just got to wait 5 minutes. I'll see whatever I'm looking for. So maybe that fanboyish, completely like losing my load moment isn't so prevalent now because there are so many coming out so quickly. So I don't know if that's got anything to do with it. So yeah.
I think this is true. Pre-episode 1, so 1999, I only remember 3 events run by Star Walking where they had headliners. I think there was Kenny Barr, David Prowse, and Jeremy Bulloch. Yeah, and that was pretty much it, wasn't it?
Yeah,
so I think after.
Yeah, he was a multiverse. But I think you're right. If any of the big 3 could have come out, then you probably would have had moments people go, oh my God, it's Harrison Ford or Mark Hamill or especially Carrie Fisher. Yeah, things may have been different. So maybe the higher the celebrity has something to do with it as well. So yeah, very, very cool. Good stuff. Anyway, that's the end of the question. So that was all very, very, very good. Very, very exciting. There might be people having massive fanboy moments on Saturday when they go and meet Sylvester or Janet. So be sure to share the experience with us next week. What?
there have been people fanboying out all week. I have had people coming in, and because they're so excited, they're downloading their Sylvester McCoy and Janet Fielding stories to me. So it is going to happen. There are going to be people who will maybe be in awe of the guests.
Very, very cool. And Guy's just mentioned a great discussion. Yeah, thanks for bringing it up, Guy. It was actually a very good topic, so which is very, very cool. And for those who are interested, we do actually keep copies of the Question Without Warning segments. And a couple of weeks ago, I actually put up the one about whether Battlestar Galactica could have beaten Star Wars. It's caused a fair bit of discussion online, but you can actually watch that episode if you want on the Sci-Fi Zone YouTube channel and just see what we thought of it, because we recorded it a few months ago, which is kind of cool. Anyway, we're down to the last segment. Now, this, of course, is very, very important. It is our Toy Stories, where Aaron gets to explain or answer some of the questions that have been asked by you, the people out there, about his life and history regarding his collecting and shop owning experiences. And tonight, old son, you're talking about, what are we talking about? Go for it.
One of the questions I get asked over and over, one of the things I get asked the most is, how did you get into toy dealing? How did you become a toy dealer? How do you pick that career path? It isn't one you pick, it's one that picks you, I think. And so I've gone back into my photo albums and into old articles and stuff like that, and gone back as far as I can find. So on the left there is actually 10-year-old me. It's 9 or 10, I'm not sure, it's around that time, with my Doctor Who collection, which was Target books, which was about 60 books at the time. It was almost the full set. So I have been a collector for a long, long time. My two passions growing up were Doctor Who and Star Wars. Now, I would probably have to say Doctor Who as a child was a bigger passion, just because at that point there were 3 Star Wars movies, a couple of comic books, and not much else, where Doctor Who already had 20 years of TV shows. So if I wanted to watch Star Wars, I was one of those people who it was a treat. I didn't want to overwatch it, so I might watch it a couple of times a year, where Doctor Who, you could watch eras and go through and you'd still have more and more to watch. So I've always been into toys and collecting. I've always been into Doctor Who and Star Wars. The first time you could see I was a bit more obsessed than most people, that's an article from when I was in, I think about year 10 or year 11. I was about 16, with me and my brother talking about collecting Star Wars and Doctor Who. I think I've talked about this before. Even though it's about collecting Star Wars, they use Star Trek through the whole interview, because Star Wars was just so unimportant back then. The interviewer didn't even care that they got the wrong franchise. And one of those really weird things is down the bottom, that's me at a record fair looking through stuff leading forward. And I found that on a website about the Camberwell Record Fair. My brother is in the background, and it's my dad on the right there. So even before I was a dealer, I used to go around to a lot of things, to record fairs and stuff like that. So on the next slide, this was my life in my spare time. Again, there's the Camberwell Record Fair on the left there. I think any collectors who used to collect more than sort of going to new shops used to go to fairs and things like that. And there's a couple of shots of the Camberwell Record Fair. And I used to be so obsessed with that. I was one of those people who got to know the dealers and would help them carry boxes in so I could get in before the fair. And that would have to be how I started my association with dealing, because I was actually helping the dealers carry stuff in, because my obsession to find stuff before anyone else pushed me to work for it. So before long, they were asking if I wanted to help out on the stall for an amazing $3 an hour, which was like slave labor, basically, because what they would get me to do is carry all the boxes in at the beginning of the day and all the boxes out at the end of the day, which is absolutely backbreaking when you're looking at 40 or 50 crates of records. And so they got their money's worth, and I got to get in early. The other thing people would do, Minotaur is still around. That was somewhere I used to go all the time. The ABC shop is sadly gone. I think it's online. But the ABC shop, because Doctor Who was the ABC, they had some unique stuff. And Space Age books we've talked about a couple of times. They were the places I loved to go into the city in my spare time and have a look at. So I was dealing at fairs. I was collecting stuff and getting as much as I could. And I decided the only way I could get more money to fuel my collection was to start getting stuff and selling it. And the big trigger thing for me, and probably my parents, because they were a bit dubious about how much money I was spending on collectibles, was Moviola. So, Dags, you would remember Moviola. It was a great shop that used to just specialise in import movie posters, and then they'd have a couple of cabinets, not very many toys. And some of you have heard this story before. They had a Dalek toy from the 60s, which was $450. And that, when I was getting $5 pocket money a month, might as well have been $1 million, because there was no way I could afford that. But when I went into Moviola every single weekend and looked at it, I'd notice all the other toys there and think I was really grateful that I wasn't a Robbie the Robot collector, because there was a robot in there in his space tank, which was $1,250. And what happened, because I used to go around op shops and second-hand shops to try and find stuff cheap for my collection, I actually saw that robot in an op shop in Heatherdale, and it was $10. And you've got to remember, that was 2 months pocket money. And I said to my mum, please, 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 we've got to buy this robot. It's worth over $1,000. To which she basically said the equivalent of, what are you smoking? What are you on? But she saw I was so excited about it, I actually bought it, and we took it into Moviola that weekend. And Dave and Steve, who run Moviola, were 2 top blokes and were very patient with me as a child who was obsessed. And they said, you have to remember, sorry, an earplug fell out. You have to remember, we don't pay that much for it. That's what we sell it for. And I said, I don't want to sell this. I want to swap it for the Dalek. And they're like, oh yeah, we're quite happy to do that, because they were getting a toy that was worth $1,200 and I was getting my Dalek. And from that point, something changed in my collecting, where now I just didn't look for Doctor Who stuff. I was now looking in every book exchange, every op shop, every second-hand shop for anything that I could take into the city and sell or exchange for more collectibles to further my collection. So I was making money in my spare time out of it. I was working at record fairs, and I was finding quite good stuff, which, you know, at the time when you were on $4 a month pocket money, and I was going into the city and making about $500 or $600 on a weekend for what I found through the week, that was a substantial chunk of money. My parents said they didn't care what I did as long as I passed high school. So I kind of coasted to the end of high school, and then decided I was going to become an art teacher. And while I was doing an associate diploma to become an art teacher, the guy who I worked at the record fair for said he's opening a shop, Antiquarian Records, in Camberwell. Did I want to come and manage it for him? So art teacher got the shaft, and I went and started managing a record shop. And I slowly loaded the record shop with more and more Star Wars and Doctor Who collectibles, which he was happy about because it was quite successful and brought more people in. And that got me to the point where I got a secondhand dealer's license. I registered my own business, and then I started dealing more and more on my own side business. And then the internet came along. And the internet allowed me to sell stuff online. And the early days of the internet, it was like the Wild West. It was crazy. I would sell stuff online and get envelopes of US dollars turn up, because people would send money through the cash and stuff like that. So from being, I guess, a collector and a kid whose first time selling stuff was at a 1987 Doctor Who Club of Victoria Christmas meeting, over the process of about 5 years, I was fully supporting myself as a second-hand dealer with toys and collectibles. And that's how I became a toy dealer.
Just quickly, Kelvin said the art of collecting than art teaching, which is actually very cool. And your last picture, funnily enough, was Dave from Moviola visiting your store.
Yeah, so that's the circle being complete. And what I find interesting there, because I'm a terrible hoarder and keep everything, there's a Moviola, business card. And I don't think there's that online anywhere. I might have one of the few that exist. But the other side there is a consignment note. And what I would do, I'd put my stuff on consignment at Moviola, and they would take their 20%. And you can see, I think that's 1992. And so you can see I've put a Moonraker thing and some James Bond stuff, and it adds up to about $600. So for someone who was dealing and then selling stuff and had stuff in other places, that was quite good money at the time. And that's how I started, by, I guess, wheeling and dealing with different people. I don't know how many people remember Dave. Dave is still around. He still does the occasional collectible. He was the guy who was into toys, and I probably would blame him for me becoming a secondhand toy dealer. Steve was into the movies. They were both great guys, though. They really loved it, and they're cornerstones of the collectible, I guess, community in Melbourne going back to the 80s.
Yeah, Moviola, I eventually had to black ban myself from going because I was spending so much money there on posters. Funny enough, you're into toys, I was into posters, and they were the only place you could get official movie posters, one-sheet movie posters from the films, especially pop culture movies, sci-fi movies, and whatever else. There was just nowhere else to go. And so they had that market cornered, and even though they shifted from a couple of places, I found it was just like, you open up the poster racks and you just go, oh, I've just got to have it. I don't care what it costs. And so in the end, I had to force myself not to go. Then, of course, they eventually closed down, as you said. But as opposed to like Minotaur, which was sort of like generalized for everything in Space Age books, Moviola was a lot more specialized. So it's an interesting sort of story about how it all starts. You get the taste, as it were, of dealing, especially in this case where you sort of like traded one item for another and ended up being a winner. And then I guess you just had the knack for it. And that is very, very cool, dude. So well done.
And now I have all the capitalist dog DNA you can ever want.
You mean this? Absolutely. So hopefully that answers some questions. Obviously, the question this time around is how he got as in how you got started, which is really, really cool. And of course, you get to see Aaron in action, as we said, this Saturday. So if you haven't seen it yet, Mr. Aaron, oh my God, the biggest Saturday in the entire universe is coming your way. Is that right?
I know it's boom or bust. I hope it's going to be a big boom for everyone. What I hope most of all is anyone that comes has a great time, manages to catch up with some people in the line, has a bit of a natter with Dags or Dicko or Karan. I hope that the meeting outside goes really well. I hope everyone has a great time, and I hope that it all goes smoothly. So if I am flat out busy and not talking to anyone and running around on the day, I apologize, but I'm doing that so everybody has a good time.
Speaking of which, by the way, as I say, you do something you love, you never work a day in your life. At the moment, the poor bastard is working his guts out, trying to get everything ready for Saturday. But that is actually very, very cool, which is well done, dude. Yeah. Absolutely.
One of my friends. One of my friends was a teacher, and he loved children, and he ended up never working another day in his life either.
Very, very cool. And I just realized that. No, that is absolutely awesome. So, yes, come on down, everybody, on Saturday. We're about to wrap up in a tick. Aaron, of course, is going to be going back to the store, getting himself organized. Sylvester, Janet, oh, my God. Mate, Docky, oh, look at this. So Murray's just joined us. Guess what? You picked the wrong time to turn up. We're about to finish, actually, in a couple of weeks. So there you go, dude. Yes.
I hope you got to see it and enjoyed it, Murray. Thanks for being here, mate.
Yeah, good stuff. Anyway, we're going to buzz off. Thanks for joining us. I know it's been a bit hectic, a bit crazy. We had so much to cover off, which is very cool. But as you said, with a bit of luck, we'll see people on Saturday at the shop. It should be fantastic. And there you go. All right, dude. We're going to party hard rock on, and I'm going to leave you to it. So everybody, you have a good night, and take care. See you Saturday.
Have a good night, guys. See you on the weekend.